Sorry about that, my phone recording just stopped on its own and it invited me to put my mobile number in. I keep having to skip that bit, maybe it's just a security thing on my phone. These parts are interactive. Some disease can be caused by either bacteria or virus. True. A version of the iron lung was made from wood. I'd say yes. Hand washing is the best protection against COVID-19. Definitely yes. Oh, maybe not the best protection. One protection? The cholera epidemic of the 1850s was part of a wider global pandemic. False. Ah. There you go. Safety and sleep. World Anaesthesia Day. It's not very loud, but yeah. Anyway, let me stop this. This would be for children to interact with, I'd imagine. After my visit, I know much more about anaesthesia than I did before. Thank you. You say these are interactive, no, they're just signage. Oh, I suppose parts can be pulled out. Oops. You said things are interactive. What parts? Oh, must be this part here.
ESO2. Yes. You are looking at a Penlon ESO2 ventilator that was developed and brought to market at astonishing speed at the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. The pandemic is a moment in time that connects us all. Every one of us has our own story. Most will remember some of the headlines that dominated the news, such as the Hands, Face, Space campaign and the concern about a shortage of ventilators. Responding to a countrywide call to action issued by the UK government in mid-March 2020, Penlon quickly proposed the ESO2 emergency ventilator. The first ESO2 prototype was demonstrated less than a week after the government's announcement. By the 13th of April, the first units were dispatched and just a few days later installed at the temporary NHS Nightingale Hospital in London. Let's hear from Dr. Shanna Ramachandran, who contracted COVID-19 and had to be ventilated.
I was just getting worse and worse, at which point I was reviewed by one of the anaesthesia critical care consultants. I think they came a couple of times, and I think the second time she came and said that you do need to be intubated. At which point I texted a few of my mates and FaceTimed my parents to tell them, which was awful because it must be the worst thing to hear. I remember they took the oxygen mask off and put this warm mask on. Or what felt like a warm mask, I'm assuming they're just bagging me. I felt this very warm sensation in my arm, and then that's it. Can't remember anything else.
Thankfully, not all of these rapidly manufactured ventilator systems were needed, as alternative treatments were found. Some, like the ESO2, have since been distributed to low and middle income countries in need of them around the world. Now, was there an ESO1? There was, and we have one just over there, labelled as a vaporizer. Penlon created the Epstein-Suffolk or ESO during the Second World War in response to another call to action, that time for a ventilator that parachute troops could deliver to medics at the front line.
Is that it? It's still far more illuminated than the other display, so maybe it's still going. We're going to choose something else. It's the Boyle's machine, blood pressure gauge, vaporizer. Maybe I'll check out the pump, the pulmoflator. The pulmoflator.
Pulmoflator.
Oh, pulmoflator.
Ventilators are machines used to mimic normal breathing when a patient is unable to breathe on their own. This may be during an anaesthetic. In the 20th century, John Henry Blease made significant contributions to ventilators. John Blease was a born inventor. In his late teens, he set up a car repair business with his younger brother and built his own motorcycle, which he called Special. For 6 years, he won every race he entered. During the Liverpool Blitz in the early 1940s, Blease was appointed emergency anaesthetist at Birkenhead General Hospital, despite having no formal medical training. He anaesthetised people for chest or thoracic operations. Thoracic anaesthetists were known as bag squeezers because they manually pumped oxygen into the patient's lungs when their chest was opened. Blease had plenty of time to think about what was involved in ventilation during these operations, and in 1945 he designed a pulmonary ventilation mechanisms that came from cars. Blease's pulmoflator was the first ventilator easily available in Britain. He built about 3 or 4 a month, and over the next 5 years produced about 200 Blease pulmoflators, often making improvements to the design. In 1960, Roger Manley was a senior house officer at Westminster Hospital in London. He was impressed by the reliability of Blease's pulmoflator and constructed his own version in his garage at home, using parts from Blease's machine. Manley took his model to John Blease, who agreed to develop it and market it. The Blease-Manley ventilator was an immediate and lasting success. Many models are still in use around the world.
Well, there you go. Maybe just one more. What about endotractal tubes? They look scary, but let's go.
Endotracheal tubes.
Endotracheal.
During the First World War, Dr. Ivan McGill was a medical officer with the Royal Army Medical
Shares my
Corps.
first name.
After the war, in 1919, McGill was posted to Queen Mary's Hospital in Sidcup, where soldiers who had facial injuries received reconstructive surgery. Here, McGill and his colleague Stanley Rowbottom solved the problem of how to give an anaesthetic when a face mask couldn't be used because of injuries to the soldier's face. He developed special tubes which went into patients' windpipes, often through their noses.
Ugh.
Listen to McGill share his stories about this.
See, the rubber available in operating theatres was useless for the purpose of intubation. I began to hunt around for commercial rubber. I got in touch with a man called Benson in Tottenham Court Road. He had a rubber shop, squeezed nose for babies, footballs, and coils and coils of rubber tubing. And I went into an arrangement with this fellow that he would let me have the tail ends of the coils after they sold off the lot, you see, because the rubber is live stuff. It's soft when it comes out of the extruder. You keep it for a while, see, it drains in consistency. And eventually when he stopped, and I used to buy a piece of tubing and store it on the roof of my house. So that lying out in the cold, it acquired the necessary consistency. But it was not until long after that we got the manufacturers really to get down and be interested in new tubing.
There you go. through the nose and into the windpipe, did they say? Ooh. Cholera deaths in Broad Street, London, 1854. Are they the dark markings? If these are able to be opened, oh yeah, oh wow. These are called connectors. They're all connectors. Bit scary. These one are bronchoscopes, endotractal tube. Wow, that's scary stuff. I don't think I could ever be a surgeon. I did consider becoming a nurse, but no. Airways, tracheostomy equipment. Endotractal tubes. Needles, my favourite. So I'm just opening these at random. This side, more needles. Oh, they open quite wide. Well, never take my health for granted again. Probably represents cholera times where people have passed out on the street. Their bodies being collected. These magnets. World Anaesthesia before 1846. I think I can do this. Japan? I mean, the shapes pretty much fit, don't they? This is China. France. No. Hang on. France. Wait a second. Yeah. Middle East. Greece. Where the shapes help. Egypt. Native America. Indian mountains. India. Italy, Rome. Switzerland. Hang on, Switzerland. Switzerland, yeah. Spain. And southern Iraq. There you go. Not been to at all the South American continent, nor the African continent. It's a continent, isn't it? Sorry, my geography is really bad. Oh, here we go. I'd like to go to Japan one day. Maybe China. Not so much India, or Middle East, nor Egypt, or Greece, or Spain. I'd like to go to Switzerland sometime. There you go. I think that's about does it. Plenty of feedback. Another QR code, if you're interested. I think that ought to do it. I'm not surprised I'm the only visitor here. It reminded me when I went to the Thames River barrier information centre. I also was the only one. Actually, no, technically no. When I arrived, there was a short video section you could watch about the actual Thames River barrier, and there was one visitor there. But as I went through the rest of the museum, I was the only one. Maybe people don't know about this. I certainly didn't know until I looked it up online. So I think it goes nicely with the Hunterian museum I was at. So that's got organs in jars and things, so medically related. So yeah, if you're into medicine and medically related information, enjoy it. It's also free entry here. Bye for now. Keep safe and healthy.